Hey, hey. I'm so excited to finally get to share with you the service calculator that we've been working on. There are so many nuances to why it's taken so long. We're here, and I'm really excited because it's going to give us such a visual way for us to map out your price increasing plan, which is the thing that I want to be working on with you as soon as possible so that we can really start to wrap your head around not just your pricing, but the packages in general and your marketing that is, you know, pushing people to the right container. So I wanted to walk you through this. Now, at this stage in development, I'm the only one who is able to edit this calculator. So unfortunately, I cannot send you the link or any sort of login yet. That is the next phase of this project. But what I would love to do is walk you through it right here so you can kind of start to think about some things. But then I would love to hop on a, just 20-30 minute call with you so we can start to input some more accurate data, because you're going to kind of see that I'm hypothesizing a little bit based on current packages and what clients are in which container. I'm going to show it to you anyways. So there are two approaches to financial forecasting, basically, is what we're doing. How much money we need to be making to reach our goals. Therefore, what do we need to be charging, both in an hourly capacity and a monthly capacity? There's two different approaches to looking at this. There's the bottom up approach and the top down approach. Bottom up is you are dead set on a certain amount of monthly take home pay, and we know logistically how much we should be setting aside for taxes and savings. We have, current recurring expenses that we can input. Then there's the top-down approach, which starts with how much money do you want the business to be making every single month? And the amount of savings or expenses or what you're paying yourself can kind of like shuffle out based on that total price. So I want to kind of walk you through what both of these versions look like. I have a feeling where I think that you're going to end up, but we can toggle on both options really easily, which makes this calculator super handy. So if we start with a bottom-up approach, and I ask you, how much money do you want to be taking home, like as your salary, as your payroll, every single month consistently? And you give me that number, say it's 5K. And realistically, like 25% is about a conservative amount of money that I would set aside for taxes. And then leaving 10% for savings tends to be, just a nice starting point. You don't even need to be putting money into savings at this point. Like, I'm obviously not a financial advisor or planner. It's just completely up to you. However, you also want to make sure that you're accounting for expenses. I don't know what your average monthly expenses are right now, something that we could work out more accurately in a call. But let's just say for right now, they're $1,300, right? Okay. So that's going to show you how the division of what it is that you want to be making and where you want that money allocated. Therefore, how much monthly revenue should we be aiming for if these are the allocation metrics that you want? Now, if you want to set aside, if you want to be able to pay yourself more, it's going to impact these numbers down here, obviously, with how much you're wanting to make. But this is mostly looking at from a how much you want to pay yourself. That's the like hard number that's not going to change. And then based on how much are we paying ourselves and what our expenses are, then how much money do we need to be making, right? So if we're able to cut expenses pretty drastically, it cuts down this number drastically, right? If we have an uptick in expenses one month, then obviously we need to make up for that. Now, this is looking at it just from a monthly standpoint. It's not averaging anything right now, but you can kind of start to see what are the breakdown of those categories. And then this starts to show you not just how much, like if you were to have one package only, how much money would that need to be making to bring in your monthly revenue? If you wanted to look at it from a weekly standpoint or a daily standpoint, this starts to give you some minimums, not necessarily exactly what to charge someone, but what you like, what your benchmarks throughout the day and the weeks should be financially in order to maintain this goal. And so I'm not saying you have to have $607 cash come in every single day, but that's what it should be averaging in order to hit this. So sometimes when we start to see the revenue broken down into, outside of the larger chunk from the annual and the monthly perspective, it starts to feel a little bit more doable or gives us more ideas on how that could actually come into the business. So this is the bottom up approach. However, I think that you might find the top down calculator more in alignment with how you think about business, because you've let me know that 15K is your monthly revenue goal. So what is that going to look like across the board if we kind of make some adjustments to these? So for example, let's push this one down to 25 and we're going to go ahead and lock that. And we're going to keep this one at 10% and we're going to lock it. Now this tells us, okay, if I am making this much money, here's how much I could be paying myself. If that feels high or unnecessary or something that you don't want to maintain, we can lessen that. And that's going to be, the money's going to go somewhere. It's either going to go in the business to you or to expenses, right? And so what if we bump this down to 5250? Well, this tells us, okay, now we have a budget of $4,500 a month for expenses. That feels high for this, breakdown of revenue. So I'm not saying that that's what we need to aim for, but this tells you when you can expand the team or make different investments in your business. And if you wanted this to go down to you only want to spend $2,000 per month, somewhere around there, we're going to lock that. And maybe we unlock savings, and that tells us where the money can go back into the business. If you want to be maybe paying yourself around 5K, here's how much business savings you're going to be able to have. So maybe there is a larger investment coming up and you can adjust for that every single month. So again, it shows you a little bit of a visualization of that chart. Now, how we start to make some adjustments overall is by deciding which calculator we're using. We're going to do the top down. So we have our 15K goal, like you shared with me, and we're going to start to add our services. What I wanted you to see though is sometimes people pick a number that they want their business to make every single month. Like you picked 15, right? But why? Where is that number coming from? Is it because you want to pay yourself, 10K per month, which is fine? Is it because you want to pay yourself 3K per month, but you want to have a large team, which is fine? Is it because you want to pay yourself 3K per month and we don't actually need this much money to be coming into the business? Because if we look at it from a bottom up perspective, if you're going to pay yourself, let's say it's 4K, right? Then it's going to impact how much monthly revenue you actually need to aim for. And so if these numbers feel in alignment for you, like, yeah, I'm going to pay myself 4K per month. I have about, maybe it's $1,500 a month in monthly expenses, then this is the number we could be aiming for. And so I want you to see both versions, because one is maybe I don't need to make that much in the business every single month when I'm only wanting to pay myself, this much or whatever it is, right? Even at 6K take home, you're looking at still 5K less than what you told me that you wanted the business to make. But maybe it's because your expenses are going to be a lot higher. Maybe you do have a significant team or you want a significant team and we need to adjust for that, right? So again, that's why I think looking at both and running the kind of thought exercise of how much do I want to be making through both the bottom up and the top down can really help you come to a number that feels in alignment. But for right now, we're going to go with the 15K because that's what you shared with me. So from here, we're going to add your services and then we'll play around with some more numbers. Okay, so I went ahead and added your services here, and I wanted to provide some feedback before we already kind of started to see how this is impacting your monthly revenue. So right off the bat, have these different containers of admin assistant and OBM packages, right? 20, 40, and 60 hours. Typically, what I highly, highly recommend doing is having some sort of incentive for people to jump hours by saving money the more hours that they invest with you. So typically what I would like to see is this rate that you have for admin assistant and OBM to be the savings rate. So to have it be the 60, like keep $45 an hour for 60 hours, keep $36 an hour for 60 hours. But this, what if this bumped up to $40 an hour and this was 45? What if this was 50 and this was 55? It's not a huge increase, but it enables people to want to jump up more hours. This is one of the my favorite things that my VA does, where, you know, one package at 10 hours is X rate, but I save quite a bit by spending, I get, let me do the math. I get double the amount of hours with 1.5 times the rate. So it incentivizes me to continue that bigger package because I'm getting more bang for my buck. That's something I highly consider implementing here. But for right now, we're going to stick with your current rates and showcase what we're looking at. So this section is going to enable us to add the clients that you currently have right now. So we see, what is your current monthly revenue? You've told me pretty early on that your monthly revenue is at around 8K. So while I don't know exactly how these packages are broken out, I'm just going to make some assumptions until we get to that number. So let's just add a couple of these. And let's just do one more. Okay, so 2, 4, 5, 6. You said you have about 7 clients, so this is probably not how it's broken up for you right now, but you're at about 8K, right? Well, obviously there's a gap because we want to be getting to 15K. So right now we start to see our available options. I always like to start with a price increase first to see how is that going to impact my total revenue, and could I reach that goal with simply raising my prices instead of working with more people. So let's test that. So let's look at a low, very easy 5% increase. Well, right here, it's going to tell us that we're going to grow our monthly revenue by $415 just by a 5% increase. That feels pretty cool. However, we're obviously still not bridging that gap. But what this is going to tell you down here is it's going to show you a 5% increase is a blink of an eye, right? This is raising it $50 here, $36 here. That is negligible in the grand scheme of things. So what if we were to double that and we're looking at 10%? So now we're increasing our monthly revenue by $830, which feels significant. That's higher than one whole package of your lowest rate, right? So, and we're still under $800 for this lowest rate. At a 10% increase, these still feel really doable and really in alignment with what your clients are already budgeting for these services. So if you have clients who are in these containers who haven't gotten a price increase in the last 12 months, it's absolutely time for us to adjust that. But as you can see, we still haven't bridged our gap. So if we're only going to rely on price increases, what is it going to take for us to bridge the gap? So let's test that. So we're going to scoop this up until that revenue gap line turns green. So before it turns green, it will turn yellow. This is telling us that we are within 10% of reaching our monthly revenue goal. So this already starts to show us that we're getting closer, which feels great, right? But we want to see it turn green just so we kind of see what is our actual situation. So we're going to bump this up just a little bit more, and we're almost there, and we're green. So we're going to meet our monthly revenue goal plus $23. All right, well, what is it going to take for us to do that? It's an 81% price increase because we needed to bridge this gap by just under 7K. Well, what is that reflected like in our actual packages? It's taking our LinkedIn engagement from 1,000 to 1,810, our admin assistant to nearly 4K, OBM to nearly 5K, and our lowest package from 720 to 1,300. These probably at this point feel like a significant jump because they are, and taking your current clients from where they're at right now to an 81% increase is a process, right? And so ideally, what we're going to find is a hybrid approach of new clients and raising our rates. So let's test that theory. So let's pop this down to something that feels more realistic. Even if we were doing like a 25% price increase. Again, I'm not saying we're going to do this all in one fell swoop, but what if we were to work toward that? What if next month we announce a 10% price increase and then we move into an additional 15% price increase? And then as we're bringing on new clients, we're looking at raising their rates with every new client 5 to 10% so that we can start to be welcoming new clients closer to the more ideal rate. There's going to be a blend of hybrid clients where you're having legacy folks who are at a lower rate than what you might start a new client on today. That's totally normal and that's fair. You get to decide for how long you want to continue serving those folks. They tend to provide a nice cushion while you are transitioning prices for new folks. But as you can see, we still have just under a 5K gap. So where's that going to come from? Well, we could get 5 more LinkedIn engagement clients, or we could get one admin assistant at 60 and one OBM at 60. There are a variety of ways for us to make this happen, right? So say we've got an OBM, but we still have this gap. Well, now we're hitting it even right at goal. So that's one additional OBM client, one additional LinkedIn engagement client, and a 25% price increase within 3 months. That feels really doable. Let's say we don't feel comfortable with 25% and we're just going to stick to 10 and we're going to do that right away. Okay, $1,800. So from here, our best bet is to just get on one more admin assistant. But how about let's do either an OBM 40 or you can do an admin assistant and you're almost going to reach that rate. You're just going to be $57 shy, but it's just adding one new client within this package. So overall, it's just one, two, 3 new clients and a 10% increase. So the whole exercise of all of this is running every scenario possible so that you can start to see not necessarily that you're closer than you think, because sometimes I can feel like that's like not helpful advice, but more so like this is the exact amount of either new clients or price increases or both that it will take for you to get there. And that number right there always feels way more doable than I think that it is when I look at, oh my gosh, I'm at 8K and I want to be at 15K and I don't know how to get there. We need to actually make it tangible so we can see what are our real options and which one feels most in alignment with where I'm at right now. So I would love to break this down further with you and with, some scenarios of increasing these rates as well, because we could do that specifically within your service offerings here. And so let me know if you've got some availability coming up soon so we can chat it out together.